that Sunday, Henry Blackaby, who wrote Experiencing God, Pain and Our Pain. And that Sunday spoke at one of the churches there. And I remember hearing him talk about that quickly God could begin to change your life. That quickly God could begin to heal the pains in your heart, whether it was your family that had broken up, or maybe a relationship with a guy or a girl or with a good friend that for so long has been hindered. And it's hindering your relationship with God. That quickly God could heal that to you. That night I went back and he shared again, and at the end of that service I was just weeping. Because God was showing me my ministry was just that, mine. From a radio television major and looked at it, going to get the TV, and then get on air, and get known, and then go share in schools and in churches about what God can do in people's lives. You know, what a great and wonderful testimony, witness, what a mission. And that was my ministry. God said, you're right. That is your ministry. You haven't consulted me once on that. You've been so busy, you're hurrying to get out there and do it. You never came to me and asked if I wanted you to do that. And I was just crying before the Lord. Finally, I stopped. And then Mr. Blackley got up and said, you know, some of y'all have been called to the ministry. And I started crying again because I knew I needed to completely surrender my life to the ministry. And it might not be in preaching or in youth work, but that didn't matter. I needed to totally give my life to Jesus Christ and stop holding back part of it. During that time, he also spoke about a plumb line. And a plumb line is something that they would hold up against the wall to see if the wall was straight or if the wall was leaning. And in Amos 7:7 it says God is going to take his plumb line and hold it up against his people to see if they're straight or if their wall is leaning. And I took the plumb line and I held it up against my life. And I was doing pretty good. But then I realized I was using the plumb line of James, not the plumb line of Jesus Christ. So when I took God's plumb line and held it up against my life, I realized that I was a wall that was leaning about to fall. He began to show me things in my life that I had never given to him. Sins in my life that I had been justified. Things where I said, my life is not that bad. Now there's some people, they're messing up, but not me. I've got some sins, but they're not that big of a deal. Then God just continued to work. And that Tuesday, I went. We were just praying that time. God just told me to pray in the chapel services during the morning, and the afternoon, and the evening. And one of the things that we talked about is what could have been. And we shared how we believe the greatest judgment of God was going to be when we stood before the throne of God and God shows us what we did wrong. But when we stand before the throne of God and God begins to show us what could have been. When God began to tug on our heartstrings and we knew what we were supposed to do. But we said, no, not right now. And I can't witness to that person. I can't confess that sin. I can't do that right now. When God begins to show us what could have been. If we just would have listened. If we just would have said, okay, God, even though I'm scared, and I don't know the right words to say, I'll do it just because you told me. What could have been? That afternoon, God began to burden my heart. And another young man that we needed to confess in front of our brothers and sisters. We had gotten the right with God, but we needed to confess it with our brothers and sisters in Christ. And that scared me to death. And the guy came up to me, God had been praying, and then God began to show me, you remember your desire to want to testify and give your testimony? Now it's the time. Are you going to do it? Or are you going to become what could have been? And so we went and prayed that afternoon because we were scared of what our brothers and sisters would think, in Christ would think of us. Because I looked at my life and I was a leader on the campus. I led Bible studies. I led a thankful freshman the year before, like I told you with the radio show, going to church. I had it together. The guy was saying, I held that plumb line up against you, and if you're together. And so that night we went there, we talked to one of the pastors and told him what God put on our hearts, and he said, okay, I'll talk to Henry. We didn't even talk to Henry. We sat there and people began to come in. So I got to play ping pong with 2 days before. I think, man, what's he going to think? So the president of the university that I talked to a week before. I thought, man, what's he going to think? And I saw people that I had led in Bible study in that room that night. I thought, man, what are they going to think? And this guy said to me, are you more worried about their judgment or my judgment? Are you going to get right or are you going to get left? So that night, after he spoke, he said, two people come and share. So we went up there. More shared God's judgment than our brothers and sisters' judgment. And I shared how, when I held the plumb line, God began to show me the thing. The way I treated him. I thought as long as I don't have sex with him, that's okay. You know, of course, there's some standards, some barriers that you need to follow, but you gotta have a little fun, right? God said wrong, unacceptable. These are women of God, and I expect you to treat them with absolute purity.